There are a lot of cartoons that have gained a strong and dedicated fanbase. You look at stuff like Avatar, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, and many more that have active fan bases who do stuff like cosplay, draw fan art, make analytical videos, and so much more. But if there's one cartoon that has a fan base when at the time it was more of a sleeper, that show would have to be Invader Zim. Created all the way back in 2001 by Jonan Vasquez, who at the time was best known for his comic Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, Invader Zim was a show about this alien named Zim who wants to conquer the Earth with his robot assistant Gur. While the concept may not sound all that intriguing, it was a nice change of pace for Nickelodeon at the time. While Nick had shows that were bright, cheery, and optimistic, here comes this dark and cynical cartoon that had more of a morbid sense of humor and was mean-spirited throughout its 5-year run. Invader Zim, however, would see its final episode in 2006 when it was abruptly cancelled. But what Nickelodeon probably never expected is that Invader Zim became a cult classic, especially the teenage and young adult demographic. If you were an Invader Zim fan back in the day, there's a good chance that you probably owned a Gur hoodie at least one time in your life. With this show having an active fanbase, it was only natural that there were tons of fan-made stuff. But one piece of fan work that I want to look at today is a certain convention that was started all the way back in 2010. This would be the first, and to my knowledge, only convention dedicated entirely to Invader Zim, and that con is InvaderCon. I was actually surprised to find out that there was a whole convention dedicated to this. Like, I can understand stuff like My Little Pony and Star Trek, because those shows have been going around for a very long time. But Invader Zim was a show that only had 2 seasons and 26 episodes. And yet, somehow, this con was so popular that it actually remained to come back a year later. And as of this recording, they're hoping to bring it back this year. So I decided that this seemed like a very interesting subject to do a video on, seeming how nobody has really discussed this online or done a history video, and that's what I'm going to do right now. InvaderCon was started all the way back in 2011 by Green Mustard Entertainment, who are best known for conventions like WasabiCon and Fandom PDX. Now, InvaderCon was not their first convention that they did that was based on an already existing property, as in 2008 they started a fan-made Harry Potter convention called MuggleCon. Not much is known about this convention other than the fact that it took place in 2008, and to my knowledge was also hosted around 2017 at a Barnes & Nobles. Though this could be a different con coincidentally called the same thing, but I don't know. InvaderCon was made to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Invader Zim, as it took place on the 26th and 27th of March, which was around that same date as it first aired on Nickelodeon. For a first-time convention, they managed to actually get some really good guests. Like, they got voice actors like Richard Stephen Horvitz, Ricky Simons, Melissa Farn, and Andy Berman, along with writer Eric Trueheart. When InvaderCon first came into the spotlight, it was a surprising success. More than 1,000 people showed up to the con, and from what I've heard, a lot of people really liked it. They had your traditional stuff that you'd see at a regular con, stuff like panels, costume contests, artist alleys, script readings, and a music video contest. But one thing that's worth noting about the convention is that for every ticket that was purchased at the con, $1 would go to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and it was confirmed that from InvaderCon alone raised $2,000. So after the success of the first InvaderCon, they decided to come back in 2012 that would be dubbed InvaderCon 2 DoomCon. This was originally supposed to be a one-time event, but after the success of the first con and seeing how people were begging for another one, they decided to bring it back, but instead of being located in Atlanta, this time they would be located in California. Every single guest that they got from the previous year would return, with the exception of Andy Berman. But they still got some big guests like Roger Bumpus, Ian Graham, Wally Wingert, Aaron Alexovich, and the biggest guest at the con would be none other than the creator himself, Jonan Vasquez. It was even Jonan's request to have the convention in California as opposed to Atlanta. Once again, InvaderCon 2 was a massive success with more than 1,000 people showing up to the convention, and many of them were not only from different states, but from different countries as well. Unfortunately, that's all the information I have on InvaderCon 2. If anyone from InvaderCon is watching and would like to give me more information on this, then my Twitter is in the description. With InvaderCon getting more and more popular with fans, a third convention was only expected, but this time it would be a little different, as Green Mustard Entertainment announced that this would be the last InvaderCon, and this time it was funded via Kickstarter. The goal was $33,333, which it ended up receiving more than what they were expecting, with the Kickstarter reaching $39,885. Now, obviously because this was funded, there had to be a ton of rewards that InvaderCon promised backers. Most of these included a personal thank you from the con, a weekend pass, an autograph poster, a shout out on Twitter, a limited edition t-shirt, get a phone call from Richard Steven Horvitz, or if you paid a lot more than what you should have, you could have had an exclusive dinner with some of the actors, which nobody paid for. In terms of the venue, seeing how the last two conventions were held in Georgia and then in California, it seemed only appropriate that this time it would be held somewhere in between. This time it was held in Texas, which is perfect seeing how it's 1,000 miles away from Georgia and 1,300 miles away from California. InvaderCon 3, The Final Doom, was held on July 26th and 27th of 2014. Like with the previous two cons, it was a big hit with fans, and what I've heard was a lot of fun. It had pretty much every guest that was expected for the con, with the exception of Jonan, and had the same old events that the first two had. Even though this event was a lot of fun, I could only imagine everybody thinking about how this was going to be the last InvaderCon ever. I know if I was there, I'd be thinking that. After InvaderCon ended, everybody moved on with their lives. The host held other cons, the guests would still be going to other conventions, and the fans who were there have that special memory in their mind when they went. Things were looking like that this would be the final InvaderCon. But then, all of a sudden, because of Enter the Florbus being announced, Green Mustard Entertainment thought that now would be a good time to bring InvaderCon back for another round. So like with the previous year, they opened up a Kickstarter for InvaderCon 4, but this time it seems like they're a little more skeptical compared to the previous years. They say things like, maybe we could do another, and you need to let them know. Which I can understand them not making any promises. This is Kickstarter after all, and many failed projects have left backers crying like an anime fan on prom night, but I have some level of confidence that the guys in InvaderCon know what they're doing, and they're very active on Kickstarter and their Twitter account. If you want to support this project and want to see InvaderCon 4 happen, I'll leave a link in the description along with their social media. So that was the history of InvaderCon, the first and to my knowledge only Invader Zim convention. It was a lot of fun researching the subject, as it's something that I had no idea even existed up until the middle of December of last year. It's cool to see so much love for a show that was so niche and obscure around 15 years ago, but now Zim has managed to become one of the greatest cartoons of all time, with it still having fans from all around the world that can all come together to one convention.